I'm Bret Shuford, and I'm here with Alton Fitzgerald White.
Alton Fitzgerald White.
I say Alton, and it's Alton.
No, you don't have to correct that because, for a long time, people would say Alton and I wouldn't correct them. So it's something I've had to grow into to go, no, you should know how my name is pronounced. So, yeah, I don't consider it like I'm not chastising you. I'm just kind of, that.
Well, I want to say it right.
If we're going to be best friends, you need to know how to say my name. I used to think it was rude to correct people. It felt inappropriate, but then it's like, no, wait a minute, it's my name.
All right, so Alton, tell the people what you do.
I am a performer. I am a creator. I'm an artist.
I'm a huge Lion King fan, a huge Disney fan, which most people know. So I knew of you. And if you guys don't know about his book, let's talk about your book. It's called My Pride, Mastering Life's Daily Performance.
Published by Disney Editions.
How did the book come about?
The book came about August of 2014. I hit the 4,000 mark as King Mufasa in The Lion King. And there were lots of wonderful celebrations, lots of congratulations from all over the world. But something that really, really bothered me was that the concept of luck. People kept saying, oh my God, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. And felt like a backhanded compliment because luck doesn't require any skill. And the concept of luck to me discounts any hard work, any sacrifice, discipline, especially doing 8 shows a week. 8 shows a week is no joke. The original title of my book was going to be 8 shows a week is not for the weak. Because many people go, oh my God, I want to get a show, I want to be on Broadway. And they don't realize that once you get that show, you've got to sustain it and go beyond that and thrive through it. So the whole thing about luck, I got tired of people telling me that I was lucky. And I didn't really know how else to express it. I didn't really have any peers in that area. No one I could talk to go, yeah, what's it like for you 4,000, Mufasa and Simba share a dressing room. Simba would leave for Act 2 and I'd have the dressing room to myself. And instead of dancing around my room or, piddling around on Facebook or whatever, I said, let me use my computer for something else. And I had a meeting with Thomas Schumacher, who is, so incredibly approachable because he just released a book, How the Show Goes On, which is a great intro to theater.
Yep.
Just to ask him, when did you write? How did you write? Did you have a co-writer? What was the process like? And he asked me what I was writing about. I told him, and he said, I don't know anybody who's had your experience. He goes, can I see some of it? I said, sure. So I sent him some, and he said, Alton, I think Disney might want to publish this. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I got a literary agent.
Wow.
Got a book deal, found the perfect editor. And I prayed on all of this. I meditated because I really didn't know how I was going to do it. And one of my biggest lessons in life has been learning to ask for help. Next thing I know, I had a book, and I tell you, because I really kind of created space and let the energy of service flow through me to make this happen. Every time I look at it, even now, I still go, I can't believe I wrote a book.
That's awesome.
But it came from a place of service. It came not from ego, but really wanted to share, really wanted to offer, and also, gratitude for being able to share my story.
What was the moment before you realized service was the way to fulfillment?
For me, well, I am the adult child of an alcoholic. Most children who are raised in alcoholic households grow up being codependent, people pleasers. I find a lot of my fellow performers and artists are codependent, which is a great thing. It's great to be loving and giving, but you have to learn to put boundaries on it. A good friend of a friend told me about something called Al-Anon. AA is for alcoholics and drug addicts. Al-Anon is for codependents. And it's great to be in a room full of people where you talk about, your feelings of insecurity and not being enough and things like validation. And in 12-step programs, you do service. Because I live in Harlem, and the meeting was way down by Madison Square Garden, and it was on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. And this is when I had a 5-show weekend with Lion King. One Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and I thought, man. But somebody said it's a really powerful meeting because it's specifically for people who grew up in alcoholic households. So I thought, let me try it. And I got hooked on it because I kept hearing these stories that were so similar to mine, where they were coming from a wealthy, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman or 85-year-old black man. You know, it's like, wow, this kind of things we have in common that we're trying to find some relief around. It became my favorite meeting to go to, and somebody suggested that I do service and I run the meeting. And I always had an excuse. Well, I can't because, you know, I'm doing a 5-show weekend, blah, 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 so and so. So I kept refusing. And this one time somebody asked me, and my hand went up. And I was like, what the? And they were like, okay, great. And I was like, oh man, how am I gonna do this? You know, I was really, even though I'm an actor, I used to have a fear of speaking in public. I was a stutterer as a kid. And I thought, okay, something in me knows that it's time to commit to this and to break through. As far as I know that I've come with my own healing, it's time to break through and go to the other side. And so I had to get on the phone and find people to speak in meetings. I had to come out of my shell and engage. And I remember, you know, the first time I had to read, like, you know, the whole outline, the whole welcoming thing, and being nervous. But then I realized this has kind of become my family. It was a safe environment. And it got to the point where I looked forward to every Sunday because I felt safe reading in front of people and leading the meeting. Now, these are things I could do in my other parts of my life, but intimately it was different. And that was service. That whole concept of service started to bleed over into other areas of my life. We're like, okay, what else am I kind of like avoiding? What else do I need to break through? And then once I really applied service to my career, that's when everything really took off. For example, when I go to an audition, you know, it's my job to prepare, to make sure that I know the material so well that I can go into that room and I can bring my own personality to those words or to those lyrics. That's my responsibility. The people on the other side of the table, if they decide, well, he's not right for this, that's not really any of my business.
Yep.
I've done my job. I've shown up to represent myself, to serve this material as best I can. And instead of like walking out of the room and spending the next day obsessing over, I should have said this, I should have done that, boom. When I think of service, I go, well, you know, if it's my service to do, then that's what it'll be.
I think what's beautiful about the idea of service too is that it's just not about you.
Well, first of all, service does start with yourself, how you treat yourself.
Sure.
But when it comes to anybody else, it is really about serving.
But you can't, you don't want to be of service at the sacrifice of yourself.
Right. Yeah, and I also would like to say that service doesn't mean that you have to suffer or be denied anything. Because some people think of service as like, oh my God, I can do it, therefore I have to, I'm obligated to. Yeah. There is no obligation with service, you get to choose. You can offer compassion, which means that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You can feel for the situation or maybe do something else, but you don't have to stop your life and sacrifice your own whatever for something else, unless you choose to. Service doesn't mean obligation.
Similar story, I had been sober for 13 years.
Congratulations.
So I found service in the 12 steps. But through getting sober.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I actually started by dealing with codependency in my family.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Like, you know, just growing up, you know, codependent and being a performer. And, you know, how much of like performing was about attention for you before you made that?
It was all about attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I understood, like, there was no separation between what I did and who I am.
Exactly, yes.
It was like two of the same thing. And it wasn't until I really dealt with the demons and dealt with and got really clear about who I was. And it was through being of service and allowing other people to see me and me seeing other people and
which takes courage.
Yeah.
You know, to go, okay, who am I outside of an actor, outside of like, you know, the one who can make you laugh? Like, who am I really? That's a journey in itself. And
it was mostly because I moved to New York City out from Texas and was struggling. Like, I couldn't understand why I couldn't pay the bills and why I couldn't really afford food, and I thought I was just going to magically start working on Broadway, and I didn't know who I was if I wasn't doing that.
Right.
And so it was out of survival that I came to terms with it. And it wasn't until I got sober that I booked my first Broadway show. So I always ask this question.
Yes.
And it's purposefully vague, but I want to just see where you go. How would you tell someone to live their best Broadway life?
Living your best Broadway life requires balance. There's so many non-negotiables that go with doing 8 shows a week. Whether you're there or not, there will be 8 shows a week. You know, so if your body says that you can't go, or you shouldn't go to work that day, then give yourself a mental health day. That was something that was really hard for me to learn because I'm such a, I'm a recovering workaholic. I love being busy. I love, you know, because service begins with yourself, really learning how to take care of myself. And there were times when I go, well, yeah, I don't really feel like going today. I just don't really feel like it. And I would rationalize why I should go. Well, you're only on stage for a few minutes. It's just a couple of hours, blah, blah, blah. And you can do it before you know it's over. And I would go and I would be resentful. You know, I would never take it out on the show. But off stage, I would be like, man. And I've learned, wow, that was my spirit telling me that I needed a mental health day. That even though I could physically do it, mentally, I needed a break. So balance is very, very important, especially for sustainability. You know, because we're not machines. And we can't forget that there's life happening outside the theater. Even though so much about theater seems to be all-encompassing, you have to have balance. You have to know what's going on in the world. You have to have relationships outside of show business. Or you will find yourself only talking about the next audition or the next performance or who was cast in what. And it's great to know that, to be in the know, but you have to balance it out with a personal life and a social life.
Makes you a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
You are truly, first off, I feel like we are almost the same person. It's just like hilarious how much
I can see that.
we have in common. And I can't wait to tell everyone where they can find you.
On social media under Alton Fitzgerald White, fan page on Instagram, Alton2459, and my website, altonfitzgeraldwhite.com. You can get autographed copies of my book. And you can also get I have a Disney album called
It's
Disney
so
My
good.
Way.
If you don't know it, I have it.
Yeah, you can get my Disney My Way CD on there and find out, you know, stuff that I'm doing.
So thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel. Give it a thumbs up. Live your best Broadway life.